Welcome back to a new malicious compliance video. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Paid for Sleeping. I do overnight deliveries for 5 locations of a chain store. I get paid per delivery, not by the hour. My manager told me I can deliver the overnight deliveries anytime at night as long as the shipment reaches the stores before they open. I have keys to all except the last store on my delivery route. I would try to finish my deliveries by 7, but I have to wait half an hour for the last store to open. I complained to my manager, saying that I need that key for the overnight deliveries. My manager kept on ignoring my requests and it went on for a month. I wasted half an hour every day because of him. One day, I just skipped the delivery for the last store because I couldn't take the wait anymore. This made my manager furious. He called me and ordered me to wait by the last store until it opens. I told him I don't want to wait. He said the company will pay me $16 per hour for the wait, so I happily said okay. The next night, I started my delivery extra early and I reached the last store by 6 hours before they open. I use an app to sign in whenever I reached a store, then I sign out when I'm leaving the store. So I signed in to the last store at 1 and went to sleep until they opened, then I delivered and signed out. The company paid me $16 per hour just to sleep. This carried on for 2 weeks until the manager got scolded by the higher-ups and I finally got my key. The next story is called Forced Survey. I have no issues, in general, with feedback surveys. I get them all the time via email and text whenever I buy online, visit a restaurant, or some point of interest. I also like to smack the little smiley face button as I go through an airport. I generally give feedback if they have exceeded or, conversely, not met my expectations. For me that's the point, feedback should be optional, not mandatory. However, a few years back, before there were numerous free services, I subscribed to a prominent credit check service here in the United Kingdom. It was only £7 per month and for that, I got regular reports on my creditworthiness and advice on how to improve my credit rating. After a few months, I realized that, since my credit rating was okay, I wasn't really using the service that I was paying for. So I decided to cancel the subscription. After speaking with a representative, who tried to persuade me to continue my subscription for a lesser amount, I was passed to the cancellations department. Hi, I understand you wish to cancel your subscription. Yes please, I am no longer using the service. Okay, we can do that. I just need to run through an exit feedback survey first. Please, just cancel my subscription. I am not interested in taking your survey and I have given you the reason for wanting to cancel. I am afraid it is part of the process. We have to do the survey before we can cancel your subscription. That's ridiculous. I am not canceling because I am unhappy with the service. It is because I am not using it. There is your feedback. I am sorry, but it is a requirement. Fine. So, what is the reason you want to cancel your subscription? Yes, he started with this question that I already explained the answer to. So I said, because it's green. Naturally, he was confused and said, sorry, what? I repeated, because it's green. But that does not make any sense. Neither does forcing me to take a survey I don't want to take. And I will be supplying similar random answers to all your questions. There was a slight pause. Then he said, right. I have now cancelled your subscription. You will still have use of our service up to this date. Thank you, goodbye. There may be some who will say he was only doing his job, and he probably was. But forcing someone to give feedback before they agree to stop taking your money is surely counterintuitive and would rarely end in positive feedback. The third story is called What a Tosa. I took a job working in a specific industry. It wasn't rocket science, anyone with decent research and interview skills could do it. But the industry demanded a certain format for the information. And for the end product to be marketable, each project had to be completed in a certain timeframe and meet certain benchmarks. As such, there was a bit of training involved in getting new staff familiar with the process, hitting targets, and producing to a reasonable quality. The company I worked for took the policy of paying peanuts to the extreme. The consequence was that they ended up training a lot of people who moved on to better paying positions at competitors. We were actively headhunted once we'd been working there for at least 18 months. Instead of doing the sensible thing, and offering pay increases or retention bonuses, the managing director liked to lecture us about loyalty and not biting the hand that feeds. On the other hand, he was telling us that we were losers who were lucky to be employed. Shockingly, this did not have the desired effect of increasing morale or loyalty. All the best staff were siphoned off by competitors, leaving the deadwood and the hopelessly naive, that would be me, who thought that their hard work and perseverance would eventually be rewarded with pay increases and promotion. Like I said, hopelessly naive. A crisis arose when a larger than usual number of staff left for greener pastures in a shorter than usual period. There were not enough experienced staff to take over all the projects. Some of the newbies were thrown way over their heads and a decent portion of them couldn't cope and walked out. We were meant to have about 100 people working in this role and only had about 75. In his wisdom, the managing director decided that the best way to deal with this was to cancel all leave. I had leave coming up, my honeymoon to be exact. I had gotten married a month previously, but we planned a dream holiday for a few weeks later. And it was now cancelled. Even 20-year-old me, who was, as previously noted, hopelessly naive, had a breaking point. I approached the managing director politely and asked if I could take my previously approved leave. He said, no, either do your job or hand in your resignation. He was confident that the little mouse would scurry back to her desk and quietly continue doing the work of two people. And yes, I did go back to my desk. But I returned 10 minutes later and handed in my resignation, stating my last day would be in 2 days, giving myself the luxury of time to get sorted before leaving. Apparently, the aftermath was quite something. I was the start of a disastrous second cascade of disappearing staff. The dam was leaking before I left, but it collapsed after. He essentially had to start over and it took years for him to recover from losing 80% of his key workers. He certainly lost his dominant position in the market. But I didn't inquire deeply. I secured a job with one of the competitors, who had been making offers and never went back. I still work in that field and every now and then I run into one of my old colleagues and we reminisce about the bad old days and laugh about what a tosser he was. The next story is called, I'm just doing what you told me to. I work as a secretary, accountant and front desk in a construction company. I am 6 months pregnant and I don't want to be very whining, but being pregnant is generally difficult. Anyway, because we are a construction company, people who come and go to our office often have dusty shoes. So they leave their footprints on the carpet. We have a very dark themed office and our carpets are dark blue. I've told my boss several times that we need to change these carpets, or we shouldn't use them at all. Because everything is covered with dust so quickly. But my boss wants the office to be as clean as a house. At first, when he said, clean up here, I would say, sure, and clean it. Then he started obsessing over this carpet thing. I have told him several times that there are a lot of people going in and out, it is difficult to clean the floors every freaking time. And because I am pregnant, I get tired very quickly. Several times when I went to the bank or somewhere for work, he asked why the office was so dirty in my absence. He asked why the doormat was so dusty when there's a literal windstorm outside. Last week, he basically yelled at me and said, don't be so lazy, when someone comes in and out, you will sweep the floor immediately. Cue malicious compliance. Last week, I ran the vacuum cleaner behind every single person coming in and out. Even if there was someone waiting for me to do their job, I said I would make them wait a bit and clean the floor because my boss told me so. My boss didn't speak up for the first few days, but then the people waiting for me started complaining. Do you have to vacuum around in the middle of your job? This is a workplace, of course the place will get dirty. Wow, that's a loud vacuum. You are pregnant, is it okay for you to do this? Just stop it, I have places to be. Doing all of this made my back pain disastrous, but I endured it. Yesterday, my boss finally couldn't stand the noise and exploded. Do you have to vacuum the floor 45 times a day? No sir, I don't have to, but you told me to do this. He knew very well what he did and said, and that's why he was angry at me. The last story is called, Personal Airline Miles for Work Trips. I used to travel a lot for business, between 30 and 35 weeks a year. Our boss was a frequent traveler as well. He taught us the tricks of the trade for accumulating frequently flyer miles, and especially status, a really great perk. Eventually, he retired and sold the company to a new boss. The new boss overheard that I had over 500,000 frequent flyer miles. He said he should implement a new policy that we had to use frequent flyer miles for our business travel since the company had paid for our trips. That weekend, my wife and I sat down and booked weekend trips all over the country over the next year. Boston for clam chowder, New York City for a Broadway show, the Garlic Fest in Gilroy. By Monday morning, my balance was down to about 15,000 miles. Later that week, it was time to book a trip and he said I had to use miles. I brought up my account and showed him I didn't have enough miles. He asked where they went, and when I said I had booked some trips, he demanded I redeposit the miles. I pointed out there was a $150 charge per person, and that since it wasn't policy, I wasn't going to pay it. Angry, he announced going forward we were to reserve miles for approved vacations only. Okay, boss, you bet. My next step was to spread my flights over any and every airline I could find to prevent accumulating the 20,000 miles required to redeem for a free ticket. I was on United, Frontier, American, Delta, Northwest, Continental, US Air, Southwest, and others. At one point, I think I booked a trip on the Grace Ferguson airline and Storm Door Company. He eventually figured out what I was up to, and he lost what little patience remained for me. Then the following took place. He said, "I suppose you think you're a smart guy." No, I know I'm a smart guy. Don't get cute. No, I'm smart. Cute is just a bonus. Look, I see my wife about 10 days a month. I live out of a suitcase. I know the aircraft evacuation speech by heart. Most of my meals are handed to me through a window. And thanks to my willingness to do this, you make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you please just let me keep the only perk I get from all this? He thought about it for a bit, grunted, "Fine, keep your miles," and walked away. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day. Bye bye.